Welcome to the Anime Dumpster Dive podcast, where we go in depth on an anime deemed bad by the anime watching community. This podcast, we're going to be discussing Doreiku The Animation. What would you do with the ability to control others? Maybe not make a bad anime? Let's dive on into it. I'm one of the few people who wears an SCM without being tricked into it, Jake H. I am joined by my co-host and someone who got tricked into wearing an SCM, DJ.
What? I would never.
And my other co-host and a dog that is somewhat self-aware that is also wearing an SCM, Anthony.
Son of a bitch, Jake, you topped yourself. This is the best one I've had yet.
If somebody told me that it's just an electroshock device that you put in your mouth, I'm like, I don't want to get shocked in my mouth. They trick so many people that way. They're like, if you get the question wrong, it shocks you. That's it. I would immediately go, I don't know. I don't want to get shocked in my mouth.
Oh, no, thank you. That's all
That's
it takes.
one of the last places I want to put an electric shock device is in my mouth. So
I don't know. I could think of a couple more places I wouldn't want an electric shock device. That's
one of the last places. Especially because the water in your mouth, it might current it and kill you instantly. No, thank you. Okay, let's play this game a different way. How about you could just slap me if I get it wrong?
Exactly.
They're like, but then you won't be my slave. And I'm like, whoa, what?
What do you mean?
No, definitely not putting this thing in my mouth.
Definitely not playing your
I'd say they have a higher likelihood of getting me to put it in my mouth if they told me it was just a retainer. Like, here's a retainer.
I'm not going to put
that in my mouth.
I've never
But I'm
worn
just saying,
a
that's
retainer.
a higher chance of them.
Like, it's a mouth guard. The game we're going to play is football. I'd be like, and I would look at it and go, well, that's not a mouth guard.
That's clearly wireless.
That's clearly a retainer. I don't know why you want me to wear it so bad, freak.
You put it in your mouth and it makes you taller. Give me that shit.
It's just such a weird thing, because as soon as I heard about the whole concept, I went, who's going to put those in their mouths willingly? And the anime shows almost no one. No one puts it in their mouth willingly. So, like I said earlier, the anime we're talking about is Doreiku The Animation. A brief synopsis of that is, what if you could enslave anyone you ever wanted? Well, this comes close. The SCM lets you enslave anyone who is also wearing an SCM at a price. One must win over the other at anything in order for the other to become their slave. And the first episode likes to hammer this in to you on the rules, and so does every episode after, including the final episode.
But I have to win a game.
You have to win a game.
Yep, could be anything.
This is episode 11. I know that.
I know. So really quick, if you guys, before we go further into it, if you wanted to get this person to fall under your control, what game would you pick?
Do I know I have to win?
Yeah. Yeah. You have tricked this person into wearing an SCM.
Peanut butter eating contest.
Fucking foolish.
What if it's a dog?
What if it's a dog? You lose.
It's a gamble I'm willing to take, alright?
I pick thumb wrestle.
Oh, because then dogs don't
pick
have
whale
thumbs.
facts.
You pick what?
Whale facts.
Whale facts.
No, I could lose that, especially
I
to
feel
a
like you
whale
could lose
expert.
that very easily.
Who can make who laugh first?
That would be
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. I like that. That way, joke's on
They
them.
make you laugh and you lose.
I don't laugh that easy.
Mine would be guessing the English dub voice actors of anime.
That's good. That's a good one. There'd
Damn
be
it, I
some
hope
crazy weebs that could beat you, though.
Yeah, but I'm not going to try to
You just
trick
have to
crazy
watch out
weebs
for
into
that.
being my slave.
Why not? They could help you
They
with
could
so
what?
much homework.
I guess they could also edit videos for me. That'd be nice.
That would be nice.
I'd try to
That
find
would
an
be nice.
editor. That's
You could have more people on your podcast if you had slaves.
I feel like I've already tricked you guys into the podcast.
I have
Yeah,
an
I
SCM
feel
in my
like
mouth.
you gave me an SCM when you tricked me into doing this fucking podcast. It'll be fun. We'll watch bad animes. Okay.
You're like, oh, bad anime. Really bad anime.
Yeah. Gouge your fucking eyes out, bad.
So, Doreiku the Animation aired during the spring of 2018 alongside shows like Magical Girl Ore, Steins Gate Zero, and Sword Art Online Alternative Gun Gale Online. So, not a lot of heavy hitters this season. I guess there's also My Hero Academia as well as Shokugeki, but This one really couldn't compete with those three that I even named. It's made by studios TNK and Zero G, known for such works as High School DxD and Dive, respectively. Dive, for you guys who don't know, is an anime about professional diving.
And High School DxD is a show that's very, very similar to this one.
With boobies.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I haven't watched High School DxD.
Yep, you recruit people to your team, and then you beat other teams. And then there's boobs.
Oh.
Lots
That sounds
and lots
like
of
my
boobs.
type of anime.
It also sounds better than this anime.
Let me just tell you. I mean, as a guy that's watched all 4 seasons of High School DxD, I can tell you, yeah, this it's much better.
Okay.
Put in perspective how bad the animes we watch are. The one I watched with Kobe was like really bad, and they were like, "Do you think this would be on? This would be something that you would see on your show?" And I went, "No, it's far too good. It's just far too good of an anime."
Wait a minute, DJ, are you talking about the Kobe from the Nerd Blaze?
The Nerd Blaze. Yes, indeed.
Whoa, so you're telling me you were on the Nerd Blaze flagship podcast, Anime Ricochet?
I was on the Nerd Blaze flagship podcast, Anime Ricochet, where we watched Oshimo, the swim anime. Oshimo something.
That's awesome, because I'm going to be on Nerd Blaze's flagship podcast, Anime Ricochet, watching Run with the Wind.
Jake, that's awesome.
Jake, you're talking about the podcast Anime Ricochet from the Nerd Blaze?
Yeah, their flagship podcast.
Their award-winning podcast?
Yeah.
By award-winning, you mean my award for favorite podcast that isn't ours? Yes.
Hey.
My award for best podcast? Period.
Damn. We gotta step our game up.
Seriously, though, go check out the Nerd Blaze over on their channel.
This is not
Jake's going to be on it.
They paid me.
Kobe, why don't you tell us where you can find you?
Okay, guys, I'm Kobe now. You guys can find me on Nerd Blaze, where we have our flagship podcast, Anime Ricochet. It's me and Jeff and a girl, right?
Terry.
And sometimes Jake. Also, when
Hey,
Kobe
I was on it. I was on it once.
When Kobe is gone, then it's Jake sometimes.
Wow, we have gone off
Was it
the
when
rails.
Kobe couldn't make it? I am Kobe.
Okay. Anyway, we've gone off the rails, kind of like how Doreiku went. It is based on the manga of the same name by Shinichi Okada, and I looked at his his portfolio. It just looks like it's a bunch of spin-offs of Doreiku. It is directed by Ryuichi Kuraya, who also directed Sugamomo, which is an anime about clothes that turn into hot women or something.
Hey, next one.
No, much too high of rating on my anime list.
Ah, damn it!
Because this one, Doreiku, is a current my anime list score of 6.1.
That's a lot.
Pretty high compared to the stuff that we watch.
Yep.
That is far too high. Does that mean, is it out of 10?
It is out of 10.
Or
Yeah,
20?
Right after I went and I rated it a 4.
I could. Okay, all right. That's fair. It's definitely not above average. So
no, it is not average. It is below average. It's not the worst.
Spoil
anime
my
I've seen,
rating
just not good.
that we're gonna give later.
Yeah, that was kind of a big spoiler.
Ooh,
Wait, maybe I love it. Maybe that was all a ruse.
Throwing you off.
Maybe I'm throwing you off the trail, Anthony.
So before we go into spoilers and we go our full deep dive into the anime, I like to bring up some topics about the show just to kind of get an early feel for it. We brought it up earlier, but what do you guys think of the concept overall? How'd you guys feel about the idea of the show?
I thought that it was really edgy, and I kind of liked how they kind of lean into that a little bit. They're like, we got an edgy concept. Let's be an edgy anime. Let's be the reaction video anime, right? I feel like, at least in the beginning, they kind of shy away from this, which I think is a weakness. I think they should have stuck with it. They're definitely trying to be kind of like the shock anime, and I think they would have got more popularity if they stuck with that and were really leaned into the edginess of the concept. Because then you would get all these YouTubers watching their anime because of the good reaction video, and I think they would have got a lot of attention for it being so edgy, which not necessarily is good attention, but still it's attention, right?
Yeah.
But they get away from that, which sucks, I think.
How about you, Anthony?
I'd say for the concept, itself, we've watched similar anime, so, at first glance, like when I was first reading the synopsis of episode 1, I thought it was going to be, I guess a little interesting. It definitely wasn't going to be, as bad as Big Order, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as Big Order.
I don't think it's as bad as Big Order goes, but the concept is cool.
Big Order about?
You had the phone, you issue an order, and then they had to do it at the pain of death.
What? That's
that
King's Game.
Was?
Oh.
See,
like I said, we've watched a lot.
Confused. You're getting Big Order and King's Game confused, Anthony, because in King's Game they give a lot of big orders. No, seriously, why were they a superhero team? I don't even remember what
Big Order. They had certain people who got like JoJo stands, and they did certain things,
and they fought each other because
I can't remember.
There could
we're
only
not
be
talking
one
about Big Order, guys. We're talking about Doreiku the Animation.
Anyways, the concept was, I guess a little, it was catching. It kind of seemed like it was going to be an interesting watch, but not to spoil anything.
Was it not?
It was
on
not.
This show?
I will give it this. The first episode is a very good, in retrospective, episode of the show, and a very good first episode of a show. But then they, like DJ said, they kind of abandoned like everything that they had set up in that first episode into just what I will say is pretty much not too big of a spoiler, but just the show boils down to character introductions and like not full in edginess, like DJ said. They kind of backed off.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much like my biggest gripe with the show is just that it didn't feel like there was much story there, but a lot of characters that the author thought were really interesting. He just didn't know what to do with those characters.
Yeah. Other than introduce more.
Other than to introduce more
like
characters.
That's a big weakness of it. They the only thing they can think of, it feels like a villain of the week almost, right? They can't think of anything to do with these people, so they're like, we'll just introduce more villains, more characters. I can't think of anything to do with the character I just introduced, so I'll just introduce another one, and they'll fight. Okay, so now that that's over, I'll just do it again. Like I feel like a lot of the conflicts, I feel like they had some okay villains that could have lasted a lot longer than they do, but they just abandon it, scrap it, and introduce a new villain. It's like, okay, well, that guy was way scarier than this guy. Like, you're like, I was way more worried about how you're going to defeat him than this new guy. So awesome. That's great. He's gone. Like,
yeah,
it's
definitely,
like
not a lot of story arcs in general. It's just kind of like you said, new villain as soon as they beat a villain or a villain gets beaten, there's a new one there.
It almost makes me wonder like what the manga was kind of like, or how many chapters of the manga there actually is. That's because we've seen where the source material gets poorly, or I guess in this case, there could have been an excessive amount of source material that the author and or artist wanted to include, in the show itself. So maybe he was trying to catch up, but this is kind of tough to say without actually reading the source material. So I'd say that it's a pretty poor adaptation, taking it at first glance, and this is coming from somebody who's never read the manga. I don't know anything about the source material. I just personally think that, again, this is just pulling from the source material either incorrectly or it's just doing a bad job at it.
Well, I think the full manga is actually called Doreiku Boku to whatever, 23, which boils down to 23 Slaves and Me. So it does seem like it focuses on a bunch of different characters, but maybe because who knows, maybe the manga's longer, that after introducing all these characters something can happen. But like with just 12 episodes, you can't introduce all these characters at once.
Right, I agree.
Like there's a part at the end where I'm like, they straight up forgot that guy was a character. Like
fucking the blonde guy.
Yeah, Gecko Arrow or whatever.
Yeah,
I like him.
Yeah, they straight up forgot he was a character. Yeah. So speaking of there being a ton of characters, we'll go with what I guess is our main cast, which is 2 people. And the first one, let's talk about our male lead in Yuga Uta. And this isn't a spoiler because it's in the first episode. No, it's not. It's in the second episode, so I can't bring it up. But Yuga is just... I don't know. Like, he starts out as that character that is clearly the author's OC character. Like, where he's like, this is me in this world. Like, that's how he came off to me. Was like, he was very... I can't do anything wrong. I'm so cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna test myself. I'm the best. I'm gonna go win everything. It reminded me of like Yugi.
No.
Except for Yugi's a little kid, so he's like, he's not like, Yugi's not a douchebag. Like, okay, imagine Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! Super wholesome, amazing, nice guy, right? He just wants the best for his friends and family and everyone around him. Now he's a fucking douchebag. That's this guy.
Yeah.
That's him. Yu-Gi-Oh! Douchebag man. Yugi douchebag.
Yugi douchebag. How about you, Anthony? What do you think of Yuga?
Yeah, I mean, not to parrot, but personally, within the first episode, I actually got taken for a roller coaster. I thought that this guy was going to have, I shouldn't say that.
An afro?
Personally, no. Just taking the character at kind of first glance, I thought that he was going to be our main character. He was going to give us a ride and potentially give us something to actually root for. Yeah, I did think that his intentions were a little arrogant. Coming into something like this, but I mean, clearly he knows a little bit. He knew a little bit more about the situation than most of the other characters that they kind of introduce. Little do we know that later on in the story, certain events kind of take place that show these qualities that he particularly has. So.
Like I thought, oh, he's going to be cool, he's going to be smart, and then
exactly,
I was like, wait, he's really stupid.
Yeah.
Right away, I was like, oh, he's so dumb.
Yeah. Personally, like his intention or his his drive is I just felt like that was completely misguided.
Did they play the first game in the first episode?
No, the first episode has the side story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But what we do have in the first episode is Yuga meeting our main character, if you could call her that. She's not really in it that much. Aya. And I thought this was actually a fun way to introduce Yuga's character, is that Yuga was dating her friend and then told her that he was in love with another man. And so she just...
Okay.
Yeah, so she's like... So Aya, who, this is her main character trait, is, really good at deducing situations. So or reading people. So she shows up and she's like, oh, well, he's clearly not gay. And Yuga is like, well, yeah, I just thought this would be, I wanted to break up with her, and I thought this would be a fun story for her to tell people in the future. And so I thought, again, this is why the first episode, to me, is the best episode of the series, and a decent episode overall, is that I was like, oh, that's a fun way to introduce people. You normally don't introduce people in that way. And also... They're
at odds at first.
Yeah.
And I like that, yeah.
And also it's a good way of showing and not telling Aya's, ability. Because... do they ever go into depth on why she's so, observant? It's because she's an outsider, and so she just has been spending her life, people watching.
Yep.
And it's
okay.
It's edgy.
Right.
It's edgelord Like,
is it though?
It's very edgelord. I'm cool.
It's because
you can
like
tell
I
an
don't fit into
edgelord.
society, but I know how society works. Like that's
it's just like. See, this is the problem this is one of the bigger problems that I have.
I feel like that maybe she's some edgelord's OC.
Serious?
No, that's
serious.
What I was going to get to. Both are some edgelord's OC.
Like there's just two traits of the same fucking character kind of divided into two people, and they're introduced in such a fashion that like immediately doesn't allow me to latch onto the characters by thinking that they're interesting or anything like that. It just makes me think that they're smug and arrogant.
This might be a spoiler, but she's very Mary Sue, like very.
Oh well, absolutely. As the story goes on, it feels like his original character was Yuga, and then his editor went, yeah, Yuga is an asshole, and female leads are in right now. And so then he made Aya, and then all right. He's like, see, I made Yuga dumb, and Aya's the smart one. And it's like, isn't Aya just like, you took out all the arrogance and left it in Yuga, but you made all the intelligence go to Aya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her flaws, like, disappear.
Yeah. Yeah,
she has no flaws, which are... Because they kind of make it, like, you think that she'd be socially awkward, but no, she's also really socially cool.
Yeah. I would have appreciated it for her not to be all so perfect. And I would have appreciated for them to explain more on why she's so observant, and I also would have appreciated it for them to just cut out all the weird shots where she's underwater for no reason.
Oh yeah, what is that? Like what is that all about? They introduce the way that they introduce Yuga too. Like they pair those particular scenes together. Like he's offering her a way out of her solitude and solemnness, you know, and this is her way of branching out, and I just hate it. I just hated it.
Well, it's like maybe that's how they're showing that she's all by her, like very alone. But usually that's depicted with like a dark room or like like a gray background. Usually underwater is when someone is like experiencing like turmoil or like some type of deep personal conflict that they're struggling with. She's just awkward. That's not.
I mean,
that's her thing.
If my edgelord like high school self were to come out and describe this scene, I'd say that she's drowning in her loneliness and how she just feels like there's no one around her that is the same as her.
Water around her.
Yeah. So she's just has this feeling where she just can't feel anything except.
I don't know. It's just in my mind there
and would be. Yuga reaches out for her. Like, is that lifeboat to other people that she sees.
She's
foolish.
Alone on a boat.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I get it, but the better imagery to me would be to literally show her alone. Not like, nothing is around her at all. It's
immediately cut out by the fact that she has a really good friend.
He's a nice guy. Yeah,
right, it's immediately cut out because then she's at lunch with a friend. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought you were a loner.
He's like, can you help me with my boyfriend problems? And you're like, wait a second. Everyone doesn't, what?
And then she's like, let me kiss this girl to prove how cool I am.
Yeah. So she's kissing more girls than I do, and she's supposed to be some loner?
Yeah, again, very similar to the show in general. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are two main characters, which is just opposite sides of the same... Mary Sue, Gary Stu character. So we take this pair of asshole perfect protagonists, and you put them in a world that is super edgy at first, filled with masters and slaves, and we get Doreiku the Animation. So we're gonna dive on into it. Spoiler tags up. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the first episode of Doreiku. First episode opens up with I don't know about you guys, but I understand the rules right away because it starts off with an explanation of the SCM.
There's even a nice little
about 9 times.
Yeah, and then there's a little thing right there where the girl goes, "I lost the game," and he goes, "Yeah," and like everyone's like, "Don't do anything sexual," and he goes, "Sleep with me." And she goes, "Okay." And I went, "So that's how the SCM works. You lose a game and you become that person's slave and you listen to whatever they said." And then Doreiku the Animation went, "Did you get it, though?" I went, "Yeah, yes." He's like, "How about another skit?" I went, "Oh, okay."
They were like, let's show you the people talking about it with a illustrated diagram. And I'm like, I get it. You don't have to go that far. You see, it goes in the mouth here, in the person's head. Yeah? And then it sends signals up to the brain. Okay, all right. Like I've said many times, no explanation sucks, but usually a simple one is best, right?
Yeah.
Like you put it in your mouth and it messes with your brain and makes you follow people's every whim. You're like, all right, cool. But they're like, it activates the response center of the brain where of subservience and blah blah blah. Like I'm not a doctor. I don't need you to explain it that much. Like it just makes you their slave. All right, cool.
Yeah. It's all seen.
Yeah.
Some corporation made it. Gotcha.
Yep. Like we've talked about the use of imagery and showing versus telling for plot devices and everything else like that, and how effective it can be when it's done correctly, and how ineffective and or overbearing or very very tactless. Like it particularly in this particular essence that like a show that shows us. What it does would have just literally shown the first interaction of a person winning the game and then running with that, giving us a very small interaction with like, okay, well, this is a fucking retainer you put in your mouth and it makes you do shit. Hey, that's all I needed. I don't need these little blips. And it's like every single time that one comes up, I'm just waiting for the next one to pop up. But wait, there's more. Did you know that when you have it...
Well, see, like, there's shows that share information over and over again, but sometimes they add new information. Like, Death Note is a good example, where they'll be like, oh, you write the name, person dies. You hear that a lot in Death Note, but it's cool because then it expands that there's always more to that sentence.
There's more rules and
There's
stuff.
more rules. Here, it's always, oh, well, you control whoever wears after you lose a game. Ah, yes.
But you can take it out for a certain amount of time. If you take it out for too long, you go crazy. I'm like, all right, works.
And you go, cool. All right, cool. And then you hear it again, and you go, oh, you said the exact same thing. And then you hear it again.
I feel like
you hear it again.
The initial explanation was all right, and like the like medical explanation was all right with me. It gets annoying when you have characters constantly reiterating it.
It's
Like every time you're introduced to it, because you meet a lot of characters, especially in the beginning, that just any anime is going to introduce you to a few characters, and they all are introduced to the SEM at different points. And time they're introduced to the SEM, it's explained to them again. And you're like, I don't need to see that part. I've already seen that. You could just tell me how he got it. Like, ooh, I got it from the internet, and this is why I got it. Cool. I don't need you to see you reading the instruction manual. I've already seen that 7 times with every other character. They keep doing it. They're like, this is the SEM? The SEM can do this? You're like, yeah, I know that. What I was talking about earlier was kind of how unanswered questions leave a bad taste in your mouth. Like, I mean, it doesn't really apply to this anime, but I wasn't really talking about showing, not telling. I was talking about how unanswered questions will leave a bad taste in your mouth. So, like, if they were like, the SEMs are a mysterious thing, no one knows where they came from, and that never came up, that would be like, what the hell? But they're like, some guy made it. All right, cool. Like, as it doesn't have to be some complex explanation. It just has to be an explanation. Like, unanswered questions suck. The answer doesn't have to be some fancy-dancy thing. It just has to be an answer,
Yeah, but
it doesn't have to be...
They don't have to hit you over the head with the explanation of it every day.
Exactly.
Every episode.
Exactly.
Especially when it starts to... Especially when the other characters start seeing it, you're like, I already know how it works. You don't have to show me... You don't have to show me this guy learning how to use it. It's like, I understand.
Well, I mean, like, even when they do learn how to use it, it's not like they read an extra sentence in the manual. It's the exact same thing every time, is what I was getting at.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like we get something new. It's not like they're reiterating a rule, so we're like, okay, here's the rule that we know, and then they add on to a rule we don't know. And so, like, that helps you learn the rules. But it's just the fact it's just the same rule over and over again.
They tell you everything immediately and then reiterate it over and over. Yeah.
I mean, it would be okay if we didn't have the entire fucking second episode based on literally an interaction where somebody becomes a slave. Like, that entire episode is dedicated strictly to showing us how this frickin' SCM works, and like...
Go ahead.
Like, I was just going to say, like, it's so unnecessary, like, to continually introduce this. And I think that, like, we all agree that it's one of the more weaker points of the entire show.
I mean, in the first episode, they have a side story that's dedicated to showing you how it works.
Exactly.
Right?
There's
and then the next episode, they show you how it works again. And it's like, why did you need that side story then? If you were literally right after this going to show me an example.
Well,
I go, please give me an example. And they go, okay. Here's 2. It's like, no, I could just use the first one. Like, you don't need to have characters that never return. If you're going to have returning characters, use it right after. Just show me them doing it. Why do you need these people that aren't going to come back?
Well, I mean, they do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, too. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, no, I was just going to... go ahead. I lost my thought there.
Sure. I mean,
I know that they do, but it's like... they are irrelevant. To
a point, though, it's like let's take this for example, because every time that we get an explanation of how the fucking SCM works, we're also introduced to these new characters, right? So, like, I totally get that, but why not just do it without the explanation? Like, why treat every single interaction with these new characters that are being introduced as it's their first fucking time?
Like, I want to know how they got it, but
exactly.
I don't want to see them learn how to use it. I already know that.
Exactly. Like, you'd be introducing new characters to the story without being, redundant on all of these different, introductions of the SCM, like the people that use them. Like, it's just overbearing in that sense.
Yeah, very much so. It's, again, there's just so much. It feels like the author is just trying to drag out parts in reiterating the rule. Or I don't know if he thinks those readers were dumb or if the viewers were dumb. It just is very, very awkwardly done, especially when you have a character introduction every episode.
And even way down the line, this is still occurring.
Yeah. Like,
you get a character introduction's way late, and they're like, so the SEM I heard about it online. It's a device that allows you to, you're like, I know what it does. You're like I've been here for a while.
Like, fucking A, you can have a character go, oh, SEM, and then have them fucking in front of a computer, and I'll go, oh, they're looking up what an SEM is. I know that already. But
or they're just like, I wish that she would talk to me more, right? And then your next thing, they're like, I'll get this, and it's an SEM. It's like, all right, I see. You know how it works. I know how it works, and now I know why you need it, because you want this girl to love you. All right, let's go. Like, it's easy.
Yeah, well,
cuts out a lot of dumb stuff.
As we're slowly becoming the anime and reiterating how much they reiterate, let's go ahead and let's move on. DJ brought up the side story of the one rape victim and her using it, and I thought that was a great way to show what it did, as well as kind of had like a good amount of edginess for the concept of the show.
I liked the edginess of this whole situation.
Surprising edginess? Did it surprise you when we kind of viewed that scene?
Not to me.
I felt like this anime was going to be edgy, so I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I felt the same.
But I did. I liked it. I was like, okay, if this is what they're leaning into, this is actually a good move, I think. I think being the edgy anime that shocks people isn't a bad idea. It could get you a lot of views, you know?
Yeah, I thought like it was definitely dark, and it like balanced that well. And then we introduced two of our super characters, and essentially it's Ayaka and Saya. And just side note, did Ayaka's voice actress have a lisp? I felt like every time she said Saya, there was a weird lisp.
I didn't think so.
There was very
I watched the English one. Did you guys?
Same.
Oh no, I watched the sub.
Oh,
so I didn't hear it lisp.
Okay. So anyway, Saya is a host at a club, and he gets SEMs to trick Aya into wearing it so that way he could make her his slave and just use her for money, which he already was doing. He was just getting annoyed with her.
That way he wouldn't even have to talk to her.
Yeah, he wouldn't even have to talk to her. And she ends up tricking him because she knows what an SEM is. And this was a part that shocked me. She like stands up on the table after she wins the game and makes him her slave, and she lifts up her skirt, drops her panties, and goes, "Eat me out." And I went, what? And then he starts doing it. And
I was like, all right, anime, this is where we're going. I can get behind this. You want people to be shocked at what you're showing? All right. You wanna see reaction videos? This is the way to do it.
Yeah, because I would know.
Yeah, and they do it.
They did it. I was like, that's fucked up. Like, I mean, granted, the first episode had that fucked up scene as well.
Yeah.
But just
this one was like
graphic.
Wow.
It was in this one, like this
scene. Yeah.
Because because it throws you off guard because in the very beginning the guy's like have sex with me and then it doesn't show anything.
Yeah.
About that. So you're like, oh, they're gonna cut away right now, and then you're like, oh no, they're not. No, they're not. Yeah. This is the point where I'm like. Also, though, I'm like, this is bullshit. Why did we have to have this side story if these two are literally going to show us how it works?
Mm-hmm. Well, like we've known how it works. It's just so frustrating.
I get that those two come back, but I feel like they're unessential to the plot. You didn't need to have
these two
characters.
are unessential to the plot.
I agree.
So are they. So are they. Yeah. They're in a little bit more. They're like introductory. They have like a use as the first, like... I feel like they have more of the use than the first two people in the show, you know? You could have just thrown in them at the last second and not had the beginning, and I wouldn't have fucking cared. Because at that point, they're throwing in so many random people that don't even have a backstory whatsoever. It's like, I didn't need to see those two's backstory. Like, I get why these two are in it, because you need, two people for your main two to battle in the very beginning before you start really opening up this world. You need these two people. I get why they're there, and you don't really need them after they've done their job, so that's why they kind of disappear. But those two first people, completely unessential. Didn't need their backstory. You could have just added them later, and no one would have noticed, because you add so many people later like that. Why did we have to see theirs? I liked it. I liked the storyline of it, and it was edgy, and it fit with the theme of the show. And like, she's very upset, and he's like crazy person, but it's unessential. Like, does it add to the show? Maybe, but you could definitely have cut this. Like, and I don't think it adds enough to be warranted.
Could have cut 6 episodes. Could have been a mini series.
A lot of characters are introduced to introduce other characters.
Yep.
And like, Saya is definitely, like, they make Saya and Ayaka seem so important in this episode, but in the reality, it's like, oh no, they're there to explain why Julia's a character.
Right. And
Julia's a much more important character. I'd say Julia and Ryu are closer to being our actual main characters.
I would agree.
Than Aya and Yuga. Speaking of, we haven't brought this up yet, but Yuga befriends Aya strictly in hopes, because he knows how smart Aya is, strictly in hopes that if he ever loses, that she can get him out of being a slave.
She can put in an SEM and beat the person he lost to. Yeah.
And so that's
pay them, right? Because he gives her a bunch of money.
Because they had like 1 million yen. Or 10 million yen or something.
I think it's...
I thought it was only like...
I think it's 2 million yen.
2 million yen.
Which is $200,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a good amount.
Or no. Huh? Is it $20,000?
I don't know how much it was.
It's
I don't know how much it was.
It's an amount of money that's large.
Yes. Yeah, so then Aya and Yuga go there and they play this game. And honestly, a lot of the games that they play in this kind of make me want to play those games, just because I've never really heard of them. Not rock, paper, scissors like Ayaka and Saya play, but like this numbers game. Like the thumbs up game, or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually a pretty interesting game, and it's weird watching it because Saya has the strategy in it that Ayaka's like, oh, this is going to win. Like, this will make us win. But as soon as he said the strategy, I'm like, that really only helps him. Like, it helps whoever goes first.
Yeah.
And you see, like, he goes, I go first. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. What's main dude's name?
Yuga.
This is where I'm like, this guy's fucking stupid. He's like, so what game do you want to play? And Saya essentially goes, how about a game of, entirely a game of chance? And you're like, he's like, all right. You're like, no, you shouldn't agree to that. How about I roll this dice, and if it's a 2, you're my slave. No. How about not that? Actually, that's statistically, in your favor. But, like, it's such a game of chance. Like, especially when it's down to 2 people, it's like whoever guesses right is going to get it. Like, you can't.
But this is what makes Aya so cool, is that she's able to read Ayaka and figure out, like, the thing, even though...
In that moment, I feel like she wasn't reading her. I feel like she was just
like she was just like...
1.
I got nothing to lose.
0. Oh, I got it. All right.
Yeah, like, she had nothing to lose, because then it's revealed that she's not even wearing an SCM, it's just Yuga. And more of the edginess comes out here, because as soon as Saya's freed from Ayaka's enslavement, he punches the shit out of her.
Yeah.
That was pretty dark.
And then you've already seen why. Like, she was pretty fucking horrible today.
Yeah, she made Saya break up with his girlfriend and then move into his house.
And throw away all her shit.
Yep.
He likes her a lot. I liked the whole... I get how they're just really there to introduce Julia, but I liked how it felt, at least, like all these people were going to be like spiderweb connected a little bit, and they kind of try to do that, but they don't do it very well. I feel like if they played more into that, it would have been a more interesting show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have like flashbacks, oh, he knows her, and that person knows that person. Because it would... They try it, but I feel like they don't really lean into it as much as they could. Because something like an SEM would spread amongst people who know each other, right? So I think it makes sense that it would spread that way, and I think it makes for a more interesting show if you're like, oh shit, that's his friend or that's his brother. Whoa, I didn't know that. They do it in kind of do it that way, but they don't explore that as much as I think they should have.
Oh,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I also. So the episode ends with Julia making an appearance and beating Saya in a stupid game of the if you let go of my hand, you lose. And it becomes
such a weird... What an idiot. Right?
He is. He's dumb.
If
He's
a girl,
not a smart man.
even if that was my girlfriend, even that I liked for a long time, in the middle of a conversation went, if you let go of my hand, you lose, okay? I'd be like, what?
I'd be like, no.
That was kind of
that sounds like a game.
Random.
It sounds like a game that you should be into.
Why are you randomly saying that? You normally don't say... Unless she's the type of person that says that that's her thing, right? Where she's like, hey, you lose if I touch you. I would immediately be like, what? Why? Why'd you say that? Because, funnily enough, I'm wearing this thing that makes me a slave if I lose games. So, funnily you brought up a weird game. I think that you're trying to trick me into losing something right now. But he just goes, like, he completely forgets that she said that. She's like, I can't be with you because of this, something. If you let go of my hand, you lose, okay? And then he completely goes back to the other train of thought. He's like, but we could be together forever. Like, he forgets that he even said that. So he goes, okay, we could be together forever.
So then Julia reveals that she's also wearing she puts in an SEM, makes him lose. He now is her slave, but she says, oh, you'll become my master's slave, after Master Rio. And you go, oh, who's this Master Rio? And the show goes, fuck off, look at this girl who works at a princess cafe.
And you're like, okay, all right.
Girl at princess cafe now.
They take us on this other roller coaster. Nah.
I actually like this episode.
No.
You don't like this episode? Nope. We'll get more into it. DJ, bring up the parts that you like when you get there. I
like Princess Cafe Girl just as a character in general. I like her.
Okay. Yeah. So we get her and another girl approaches her after she gets off of work, saying that she wants to become her. I don't know how the English dub did it, but the sub was using S&M as the roles instead of saying dom and sub. So it was kind of weird, but basically she wants to be her sub with the cosplay girl as her dom. So I
believe they said, I want to serve you. That's it.
Yeah, she was saying, I want to be your S to your M.
She's like, I want to serve you. I believe she does bring up S&M, but most of the time she refers to it as like serving her.
Okay. So the cosplay worker is Shiori, and this girl who approaches her, his name is Taiju, and they end up meeting a guy, and then this is where this starts playing the attempted spider web that DJ brought up, and Yuga's buddy from the first episode.
Yeah,
I'm gonna spiky hair guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna
spiky blonde glasses.
I was gonna use the description that another character uses, the lion-haired guy, just because he has like a lion mane.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so he shows up, and they make a game because they put in the SEMs, and they make a game of whoever can get these guys to spend more money on them wins. And Taiju wants to lose, but she wants to also make it a game. And throughout the night, it's actually a pretty fun game because they're being very very low on getting these guys to spend thousands of yen on them, like trying out cosplay outfits or ordering a ton of food. We also meet a character who I thought was just going to be a dog, but then had an SCM in its mouth, and that's Zushimaru, the Shiva.
The smartest dog on the fucking planet.
He's super cool. He's the best character.
Okay.
He's the cutest character.
I thought, okay, when they're... this part is actually weirdly important to this episode, but Shiori feeds him some chicken, and while they're petting his belly, he has a SCM in his mouth. And I went, no fucking way did a dog put that in its mouth.
Yeah, I was like, somebody's like using dogs as they might have a dog army. I was
that's
like,
what I said. I was like,
crazy.
Somebody's gonna get fucked.
I was like, somebody might have a dog army. That's pretty cool that you would use dogs and like tell them what to go attack people or something. I was wrong.
No,
that's not what's going on here.
No, it's
the dog's almost sentient.
It's like, almost sentient.
He's not a real dog. Like he's more a human.
We'll get to that. That was that episode is the. I was hanging on by a thread. And that episode made me go, I don't even fucking want to take notes on this show anymore. But so they end up going back to the guy's place, and one of the guys actually drugs Shiori.
Oh, girl.
And Taiju flips the table and they escape.
Good guy Lionhair is like, what the fuck,
Yeah,
dude?
Lionhair's like Lionhair just has bad choice in friends.
Yeah, he does.
He does. He needs to meet new people.
He needs new friends. Because he seems like a stand-up guy.
Since they're fucking dicks.
So they escape. It's revealed that Taiju's actually a man in drag.
What?
And so...
it's the little boy she met earlier.
Yeah, it's the little boy who frequents her cosplay cafe. And Shiori ends up losing, and so she becomes Taiju's slave. And then we get Zenshi, like whatever he calls himself, this fucking... Mike Tyson looking motherfucker.
You reach peak edginess here.
Yeah.
And then the edginess essentially never returns. This is like peak edginess, and then they're like, yeah, forget about that edginess stuff. This is pretty much the moment.
He shows up, he beats he goes, which one do you use the master? And she always like, alright.
He goes, challenge me to a game, picks her up by the throat. Challenge me to the game, and it's gotta be a fucking fist fight.
Boom.
Challenge me to a game, and it's gotta be a fist fight. She goes, I challenge you to a fist fight. He's like, boom!
Punches her out.
Like, I'm like, dude, you did not have to do that. You could have just been like, all right, you lose this fist fight, right? And she probably would have been like, yes. But he's like, nah, I'm going to win the fist fight. Boom!
He beats the crap out of her.
It's ridiculous.
But during the beatdown, Taiju ends up running away. And who does Taiju run into? He runs into Julia.
Julia.
And also Julia's like driver. I can't remember his name right now.
Driver guy.
Chow or whatever.
I'm serious guy.
And serious guy. Or a guy who looks like he'd be voiced by John Michael Tatum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of a character who would detail that off the top of my head. But yeah, he like basically they go, okay, here's the game. If we save your friend, we win. And Taiju's like, yeah, sure, I'll be your slave. And so they go, and they find Zenichi fighting the dog from earlier, Zushomaru. And Zushomaru ends up...
You're like, what? And he goes, "Ruff," and then a game starts, and you're like, "Okay, what the
You're
fuck?"
like, the fuck? And then the dog bites him in the crotch, and he goes, "Oh no, I can't fight anymore." And then it's a boom, and he becomes a slave to the fucking dog.
The dog? And you're like, wait a second. That's not how I thought this dog was gonna be in this story.
The driver guy even turns to the fucking Mike Tyson, and he's like, "You understood that thing?"
It's like,
Do you understand it? He's
child?
like, wait a second. Did you just become the slave of a dog? He's serious, guy. He looks at this show and he goes, "What the fuck's going on here?" Just like we do.
So then episode 4 happens, and episode 4 is the first step because episodes 2 and 3 actually introduce these characters without going that much into their backstory. Episode 4 is the first step in the wrong direction of how to introduce a character, because then we get Zenichi's backstory. This guy who just was clearly an assailant, and that's really all he ever becomes. The author went, "Oh, I better explain how he got one, as well as why he's there, as well as why he decided to wear it." Yes.
The worst part is it doesn't add anything.
It doesn't. His
backstory explains that he's a piece of shit.
Exactly.
Yep.
The only thing that it adds is that he's the one who apparently fucked up Ayaka's face, and that's why she has an eye patch. That's the only thing it adds, and it's a throwaway line.
It's like, yeah, but I knew he was a piece of shit. He punched that girl in the face really hard. I already knew that. I mean, maybe they do that to introduce the totally unimportant mafia leader guy, but I mean, he's worthless. So why would they?
Yeah, he is.
They do nothing with that guy. So
they could introduce the mafia guy with Ryu's character. It's just so bad.
Exactly. They didn't need that flashback.
No.
I already knew he was a piece of shit. I don't need you. I mean, maybe if it added more to his character, sure, but I already knew he was a piece of shit.
Julia's group shows up, and they tell Zenichi that, well, like, would you rather be a slave to a dog or a slave to us? And so he ends up accepting a game from Taiju, who's like, the game's going to be Punch-Out, and he picks up a brick. He beats him so bad he has to go to the hospital. Because when originally you go, oh, one of them's going to go to the hospital, I'm like, oh, it's probably the girl who got her face beat. But no, it's this guy. And we find out, for some weird reason, Aya and Yuga are walking through the same park. And we find out Zushomaru is Aya's lost dog. And at this point, I went, did the fucking dog eat the SEM that Yuga gave her?
I didn't think that, but that's fucking hilarious.
That would have been hilarious.
I was like, is that what the fuck happened? Because she goes, he's been missing. I thought I'd never see him again. So he's been missing for a couple days. We find out later he's been missing for months. Yeah. So and then they just kind of let Zushomaru go with them, and they take credit for saving Shiori. It's one of those ones where it's really dumb. It's a stretch on why Taiju lost that game. But anyway, they leave, and we kind of get we're like, okay, so Sushomaru is Aya's dog, and okay, all right, cool. So I wonder how this is going to play in. And the game goes, hey, do you like this guy named Zero? And I went, who? And then went, well, you're about to know. And we get introduced to Zero.
That one was a bad shift. Like, you're kind of getting to the heat of this whole situation with these multiple people. Some of them are in the hospital. What's going to happen next? What is Julia's team going to do with these two new people they just acquired? Oh, the different guy? Okay, all right. Completely different guy. All right, okay. Well, we'll just forget about what just happened then, last episode. We'll just watch this thing, I guess.
Here's the backstory on this guy, and now that you know him, here you go. He look, that was a seamless transition. It's like, no, what? And so we get Zero, who ends up being approached by this little boy who tells him that his dad was killed by taking out his SCM and getting his mind scrambled. So Zero goes to help the boy get revenge on Rio at this point. So we're like, oh, okay, so we'll finally see Rio. But we actually just run into Chu again. And the boy, Zero, and Chu proceed to play a trivia game. And Zero thinks he wins because Chu messes up an answer, and Rio's been getting answers. The little boy has been getting answers the entire time.
The who?
Oh, I know. Sorry. And so it turns out the little boy goes, because Zero goes, oh, I answered a question, we win. And the little boy goes, no, I've answered 2, he's answered 1, and you've answered 1. I need to answer 1 more and I win. And you'll be my slave.
Not so fast.
And Zero's like, Zero's like, what do you mean?
I'm Ryu.
I'm Ryu.
Yes, yeah. The little boy.
And it's like, oh, okay. The little boy made Julia pose nude and get a tattoo of the fucking, thing that his name spells in kanji? Okay.
Right, that's not weird at all.
And so...
Because at this point, we've seen, the crazy pictures of her, too.
Yeah, we've seen the crazy pictures of her.
Who fucking took those? Hopefully it was the adult guy.
No,
apparently it was him.
Hey.
There's a scene that...
Yeah, she literally has a tattoo of she's like, oh, I got this tattoo of, a dragon and cherry blossoms because that's how Rio's spelled with the characters in kanji for dragon and cherry blossoms. And it's like, that's not okay. Especially now that it's a little boy.
But I'm talking about the picture. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. The naked pictures.
You could have had the adult guy take it.
No, this was before No, there's a whole scene explaining that was done before the old guy.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
So they end up, for some fucking... He's like, I picked you because you lived alone. And so they capture Zero. But not before Zero hears a voice in his head that tells him to run. And he's able to disobey the SCM. And you go, how's this going to play out?
And then they go,
this is where you lost me. This is absolutely where you lost me.
You go, what do you mean wait and see? And they go, haha, for 6 episodes, we're not even going to bring it up. You're like, what? For 6 episodes? And they're like, not even going to mention it. Nope. And when we do bring it up again, you're going to forget that it happened.
And you're going to fucking hate the answer why.
I don't like this idea.
So it cuts, and we find out that Zenichi, the Mike Tyson guy, has apparently escaped from the hospital. But then both Yuga and Rio get a letter from, and this is the dumbest nickname anyone could give themselves, or alias, or whatever, a crazy person.
The crazy person. That's what they call themselves, eh?
Yep.
The crazy person.
I just got off the phone with a crazy person.
And so Yuga goes, I'm going to challenge this crazy person. And Aya goes, that sounds like a bad idea. I feel like you shouldn't challenge crazy people. And,
they did. They said it straight up to us.
And he shifted right into fucking crazy. Little did you know.
He was also a crazy person.
Yeah. Sorry, at the end of episode 2, Aya goes, and soon I will regret ever meeting Yuga, blah, blah, blah.
I hated this.
Why?
And so
I hated this.
I go, why? I wonder what will happen. I wonder what he'll do. Will he make her his, slave? And then we get to this episode, and Aya gets a text message of him, tied up, and so she goes, better go save him, and she goes with Zishomaru. And so she goes to go save him, and it's clearly him wearing a BoJack Horseman mask. And it's he has Ayaka in the bathtub to show that he's all cruel now, because he got all cruel off screen.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
And he's crazy. He's a crazy person now. And so he has Ayaka challenge Zishomaru to a eating contest where they have to eat the cutlery. And this makes me mad because one, I just don't like animal violence in general, and for some weird reason, I just did not like this dog trying to eat a fork. It really pissed me off.
Here's the thing. He goes, "This is the only way that I could think of to keep you by my side, because if you put your SEM in, then someone else will just make you their slave, and then you'll be their slave, and I won't have you." But if I keep your dog as my slave, then you will have no way other than to obey me. And my thought process goes, what if she didn't bring the dog?
Yeah.
What would have you done then?
Yeah.
Or, what happens when I'm like, can't she just go home, challenge Yoshiomaru to a contest, put her SEM in, challenge Yoshiomaru to a contest, now he's her slave. Done deal. Fucking, that's all. Like, this guy obviously didn't think of that. Neither did she.
It's a very convoluted plan.
If that was me, I would have been like, I'm just going to challenge him to a contest the moment we get home, so go ahead and make him your slave. Yeah, could do it, dude.
I'm just going to take my dog.
Does Yoshiomaru just lose the contest? And he's like, oh, woof. And because he understands people. Because he's not a real...
Yeah, because he understood the eating contest.
Yeah, he understands everything. Yeah.
He understood the eating contest before Aya understood the eating contest.
And, yeah.
Okay, so at this point...
I just... How is that a good plan? And how did no one think of that? She's all like, no, you have me at your bidding now. I'll do anything you say. Oh, no. My life is over. I would have been like, oh, you got me. And then I would have went home and be like, rock, paper, scissors, Yoshiomaru. You lose. Now you're my slave.
Well, see,
spoil this fucking plans.
Because there wasn't enough time for them to explain that plan because we had to get another character's backstory.
Yep.
The crazy person.
Or
Yoshiomaru.
It's Yoshiomaru's backstory. Episode 6.
Homeward Bound.
Oh, hold on.
This is the worst one.
Okay,
this
Anthony,
is the worst
you
one.
said episode 5 lost you.
Yes.
What part of episode 5 lost you?
Where Zero hears the voice in his head, and I went, oh, okay.
You were gone.
This is gonna have some bullshit connected to it, and he's gonna have two people in his head.
Oh, Homeward Bound.
This one lost me. The Homeward Bound episode lost me because it opens up with Aya, and I'm like, that's a voice we haven't heard before. Why are you doing this? I'm like, it's really weird. Like, who's watching her? Is it the fucking dog? And then it zooms in on the dog. And I'm like, no fucking way.
It is I, your doggy.
And it's like, me, Yoshiomaru, the cutie pupper. And so I like that he goes after a dog that he wanted to, like, that he was in love with. In the sub, it kept referring to the female dog as a bitch. So it's like, he goes, I immediately fell in love with that bitch the first time I saw her.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
So he goes after her, and he ends up running into this professor who it turns out to be the creator of the SCM, and he decides to help he says it. He goes, I decided to help the professor with his research. I'm like, no, you fucking didn't, because you're a dog. Like, he
grabbed you and he said, hey, dog, I'm going to test this research on you. And you went, oof, because you're a dog.
And so he goes, I helped him. And then the professor had this partner called named Sanagaya, and Sanagaya actually comes up later in the story. But he ends up drugging Yoshiomaru and stealing some research. And instead of like alerting the police, he just gets let go and shamed. Like the professor just gets like fired, and his research like deemed like a quack, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's
no repercussions whatsoever.
Really? Yeah.
He's just like, well, you got me.
He's like, damn it. My research.
I guess I'll just go home now.
And so he goes home, and Yoshiomaru grabs the SEM and goes, I want to wear the SEM so I can find whoever did this. I know it will act up if I have a challenge. And I'm like, this is a really fucking smart dog.
It is a really smart dog.
And so the professor helps him put it on, and he goes out to go explore to find him. And after a day of like looking around, he can't find anyone, so he leaves and he comes back. And then the episode kind of got me again for a second, because when Yoshiomaru shows up, the professor has hung himself. And I went, no, that's sad. And then the episode proceeded to then lose me completely.
Just left turn again.
Because the dog went, I decided to have the names of both my masters. I would be Yoshiomaru Sumada. And I went, fuck off. You're a fucking dog.
I was like, well, that solidifies that he can understand English.
Yeah, right?
I'm like, you're a motherfucking dog who, fuck you. You don't know, what? No, who are you going to tell? What? Who are you going to tell that you now have two names? No one, because you're a dog.
Other dogs, Jake. Other dogs. He's much needed relief in this show from edginess.
Could have left him out. I wouldn't even have cared.
That's true.
So we get that, and so we then go, okay, well, we got useless dog backstory.
Can you imagine? Sorry, can you imagine the board meeting where they're like, "Well, people are just not taking us seriously. Do you think it's the talking dog?" Couldn't be. No. Of course. Is this Yomaru? Couldn't. Of course not.
Everybody in the board meeting is like,
no.
No way. It's Yuga, isn't it? It's Yuga.
It's Yuga. Let's make Yuga lose. And then that's the next part. Yuga meets the crazy person. Fujiko Tato, who... Okay, so he's on... I don't know about you guys, but if I got a letter from a crazy person, I would kind of not be in public
what
areas.
Is this written in blood? Is this whose blood is this?
Is it lipstick?
The worst part is crazy person, just a normal girl, actually.
Yeah.
Not a serial killer, not really anyone to be afraid of. Just a normal girl. She's not really that dangerous.
Yeah, we meet Fujiko Tato, who is the crazy person. She's crazy because she's in love with a person she just met. I want to bring up something here.
They make it seem like she's crazy, like a fucking serial killer. Yeah, when the notes of blood show up. But she's crazy like a normal, I guess she's kind of crazy.
She's the least crazy antagonist.
She's definitely less crazy than what's his name, the guy that put the little girl in the bathtub.
Yeah, Yuga.
And made the dog eat a fork. That guy's pretty crazy. That guy hatched a whole plan around making a dog eat silverware to trap a girl. He's way crazier.
He's a lunatic
person.
Okay, but something I want to bring up here is something that bothered me to no extent. Fujiko Tato, the crazy person, she's a nurse whose specialty is injections. So that makes her good at coming up with serums that will knock people out. I don't know if it's a bad translation or it's something, but when a person tells me they specialize in injections, I just think that they are good at injecting people with things. I don't know. It was a really weird way that bothered me a lot because it's kind of like her whole character.
It's not a good word.
It's not a good word.
That doesn't make you think of good things.
So she injects him with a drug that causes him to lose consciousness, and they capture him. And she says we're gonna play a game. The game is whoever sees their mother first loses. And she fucking strips him naked, ties him up, puts him in his mother's house with a fucking loincloth that says "Welcome home, Mom" or whatever. And
I never got to read any of the text in the English dub. They don't translate the text.
Oh, okay. The thing on the loincloth says "Welcome home, Mom."
That's terrible.
And so, yeah. So his mom sees
that
him.
Makes it that much more ridiculous.
And I went, Yuga just took a hard L here, guys.
Yeah, she could have just tied him up and made him see his mom.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do all the rest.
Yeah, so
I don't hate the play, I hate the game, though, right, guys?
Yeah. So he loses, and he's a slave. And you're like, how is this going to affect anything? It doesn't, because Aya frees him almost immediately by making him lose a game of rock, paper, scissors. But then Aya decides that she wants to free all the slaves. She wants to Abe Lincoln this shit.
Damn it, I was going to make a joke. I was going to say, she made an Emancipation Proclamation.
She makes a proclamation of emancipation.
Damn it!
So Aya starts her own faction, which is Yuga, her, and Zashomaru. Oh, and then they capture the girl from the first one.
It feels like that this show has started.
Yes.
You're like,
yes,
wait a second.
This is why I said. This was episode 7?
6.
6!
You're like, there's the plot. You're like, right here.
Yeah, you go, oh, okay.
It's even worse from here.
Now she's going to capture...
It's even worse from here, though.
Now her plan is to win over all the slaves and free them. And so the first thing she does is she gets the girl that we saw get enslaved in the first episode. And so you're like, oh, okay, maybe now that character's important. Fuck off. Julia's backstory, episode 7.
Yep.
So we find out Julia, after getting broken up with Saya, just want to bring up the abruptness of how I just changed subjects. is less abrupt than the episode.
It's true.
Because then Julia becomes Ryu's, like, babysitter after she gets broken up with. And we found out Ryu's mom has developed a huge debt to the gangster guy. And Ryu, being a child, somehow has saved up enough money to buy an SCM that we have been told this entire time are super expensive.
Millions of dollars, yeah. The guys in the beginning won one in auction, like, before they were popular, and it still cost them shitloads of money, like... But he's got one. He's a little kid.
Yeah,
Let's not question it. He's a smart kid. He figured it out.
So he ends up tricking Julia in the way that DJ brought up, is that it gives you a little shock when you lose. And so Julia goes, yeah, sure, I want to be friends with
Wouldn't
this
do that, especially if it was a fucking little kid.
Little kid I don't really have that much, like, knowledge of.
I'm like, little kid, I just met you. I'm not putting anything you hand me in my mouth.
It wouldn't
Get the fuck out of here.
It wouldn't even be, like, the fact that it's a shock thing. Just anything in general I would not put in my mouth that a child gave me. Like,
she's really worried about him liking her. Yeah. So.
Oh, also Julia has this thing where she goes, like, nobody wanted to hold my hand when I was a kid, and it's dumb.
It is dumb.
So Julia ends up, we know this part, Julia becomes his slave and is, like, his most loyal slave. But then...
She's his bottom bitch.
Yeah. And so then Ryu and Fujioka end up meeting and playing a game of capture the flag with their slaves as pieces. And this is dumb. This is really dumb, because all Fujioka had to do to win was get the big, muscular guy to stand next to the flag at all times. Done. Yeah. You win.
The guy that punches people in the face for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The guy who loves beating the shit out of people. Just have him do that. Because that'd have done it.
After Ryo commands Julia to basically electrocute herself and scare the other slaves, he walks right on up to the flag. Well, you know what he couldn't do if Zenishi was standing there? Walk up.
He would have got punched in the face.
Punched in the face.
He would have beat the fuck out of him. He had no qualms beating a girl up. I bet he's got no qualms beating a little kid up either.
You're gonna beat that child up. But no, she doesn't do that, so Ryu ends up winning, and he ends up, like, doubling his slaves. And you're like, I wonder how that will work. No. Because then they introduce that somebody has a star thing on their little map. And you go, okay, we're moving on to a new crazy person antagonist over. Star antagonist is happening now, I guess.
Is it go?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go fight more. Just kidding, it's a stupid anime.
It is, it's bad, because then we get Julia infiltrating a high school.
Yeah.
And
where's he at? High school.
He's in a high school.
I'm 40. That's okay, put on a uniform, Julia. They'll believe you.
They'll believe it. And Fujiko goes as the school nurse, because fuck off. No way I would hire her as a school nurse. She seems crazy.
Yep.
And
she is.
She's the crazy person.
That's not, those are her words, not mine.
Do you think her resume is written in blood, too? And they're just like, you don't seem all that crazy. Why'd you write this in blood?
It just says school nurse on it.
So we end up running into Setagaya again, and he ends up capturing Fujiko by using his judgment SCM, which is just like a I win.
He just wins.
No, if they're a slave, he can make them his slave.
Yeah, but you don't know that at the time.
Yeah, he just
at the
wins.
time he just wins.
At the
and
time,
you're like, well, how are they going to beat that fucking guy?
So we can then go back to our quote main characters, because we haven't seen Aya in a while since her declaration. So Aya
emancipation.
Yeah,
it was a proclamation, Jake. It wasn't a declaration.
So
what is she declaring independence or something? Come on, get out of here.
So Aya challenges the mafia boss from the beginning, who also seems to have a like teenage sidekick, who gets her little backstory thing in there too. It's why Setagaya was in the high school, I guess. But Aya challenges him, who can make the most money in 2 hours. And as if the show hadn't already lost me, somehow they're able to lose me even more by having Aya put a boot down in the middle of the street and just start singing the opening. And I was done.
That was the opening.
Yeah. The opening's not good. We didn't talk about that because the opening and ending of the show are not good.
Mm-mm. They don't fit at all. It's completely out of character.
This is the end. This is the end.
Just kidding. You know, just kidding.
I long for the King's Game opening after this. So they end up doing a lot of convoluted plans that just end up with them. It says right here in the episode synopsis, ends up with them burning 10 million yen. Long convoluted plan. So they end up winning, and they get the mafia boss and his teenage sidekick, and so she actually has a pretty good faction of her own. And so you're like, all right, so she's going to take her new faction.
This guy was this big mafia boss. They introduced him as like a pretty big villain earlier. This guy's the whole reason Ryo was doing what he's doing, is to pay the debt off that his mom's got to this guy. And then he loses so fast, and so he's so useless to the plot. Like, you're like, oh my god, why couldn't they just make Setagaya a mafia boss? That would have been so much better.
I mean, you really could have just made one villain throughout the entire thing with minor villains, but no, they went with a major villain arc every few episodes.
Switch to Ryo, and then switch to Setagaya, and then that's all.
Yeah, done.
Setagaya's got this powerful weapon. He makes the viewer think, wow, how are they going to beat him? Well, they're not. Guy with a slingshot's going to beat him.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
So you at this point are going okay, so now Aya has her own group. She has a pretty big group now. She has some pretty powerful pieces, and she's going to go up against Ryo. Which now brings us, of course, which makes perfect sense in the story, to Gecko Itubashi, who is a huge fan of the internet station Mariah-sama. Yeah.
This guy that we know so
right.
well.
We totally know him.
We know him, right?
This is our boy, Gecko-sama.
Gecko. Yeah. They decided that is another time to introduce another character arc. So we get introduced to Gecko and Maria. And Gecko can hear the SCMs.
Why?
Because he can.
Because he can.
Never explained. Remember what I said earlier?
Uh-huh.
I don't need a complicated explanation. Just one. Nope. He can hear him, and I just have to take that face value. He can hear him.
He can. So Mariah sends him to this area to meet her contact Kyo, and so he goes there and he runs into Zero, who's with Ryo, and Gecko says I'm here, oh, you must be Kyo, to Zero, and all of a sudden Zero's eyes flash and he goes, yeah, I am Kyo. I challenge you to a game of look this way, look that way. And they kind of whisper. And Zero goes, I am Kyo. And so I thought this was a weird transition. I'm it's Zero just using this to gain favor with Ryo. Nope. Turns out Zero is actually possessed by his late mother, Kyo.
Possessed, maybe?
Maybe?
What is even... And here's the thing. The whole time he's interacting with Gecko, I'm what the fuck is going on? And then they, hit me over the head with it. I'm oh, yeah!
Yeah.
That voice in his head from 7 episodes ago. I remember... No. How the fuck... Especially if you're watching this shit, week by week, how the fuck were you supposed to remember that?
It's so ridiculous. It's so bad. Just because then it's what the fuck? Because now when Kyo's in control, the he has different brain waves, so the SCM doesn't work on him. But Kyo has a special SCM because he has 2, so he can just switch them out. Weird enough. Fuck off.
It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Fuck where that's going.
If this thing controls your brain, it should work on all your multiple personalities.
I agree.
We have one controlling you.
Yeah, you have multiple personalities, but you have one brain stem that this thing is overwhelming your sense of duty or whatever it is to your singular brain that you have. I doubt this is grounded in any factual reality whatsoever.
Oh, 100%.
Not. There's no way that makes sense.
What are you talking? Magic retainers that make...
I'm just saying there's no way that having multiple personality disorder, having some type of multiple personality disorder would protect you from a psychic controlling device. There's no way that makes any sense.
It doesn't.
That's completely a lie.
But, I mean, let's go more in-depth than that. by actually going not in depth in that at all and going into Maria's backstory.
More important, Maria.
More important.
Oh, serious.
Who's Maria?
Yeah.
I don't know, but we're gonna figure it out.
She's the online persona that Gecko worships. Turns out she met Kyo in prison. And
at this point, you're going, "Who is this person, and why are we here?"
Exactly.
That's what you get, Fatso episode.
No, it's the next episode, episode 10, because so after we've learned who Maria is, what's going on with Zero, you're like, okay, so in true Doreiku fashion, we're clearly not going to expand on that right now. We're going to go into Ryu's backstory, whose backstory is about just 2 minutes longer than Julia's, and it's just Julia's backstory. It's not. No, we get some information that him and his mom liked eating donuts together,
and it's the same scenes again, isn't it?
It's the same scenes.
Mm-hmm. Nice moves, guys.
Man,
I wanted to watch this again.
Episode 10. You have plenty of time to keep doing this.
Ooh, let's just not. No. Let's not show more interesting conflicts with the different characters. Let's show that scene we showed earlier. Let's show that again. Are you sure we shouldn't put in the talking dog? Yeah. Throw in the talking dog.
So Rio sends. Well, it doesn't send, but ends up losing all of his slaves to Setagaya, who, when they all just show up, he goes, "Oh, they're all slaves. All right, you're all mine now."
Bling. It's still, but we don't know that you have to have lost yet.
Yeah,
it just works. We don't find out you have to have lost until the moment he is no longer a villain anymore, and you're like, "Well, that was dumb." Like.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, oh, okay, so Rio doesn't have any slaves anymore. Like, how's he going to react? Well, back at Maria and Gecko, Maria is expecting Gecko's, but so she hears her like vibration go off, and she goes, "Oh, Gecko must be outside." I don't know why the fuck you would think that. Like, and so she opens up the door, and there's a dude wearing a gas mask, and he shoots her in the face with a BB.
Oh,
slingshot. And he starts telling a story about this guy named Nobito, and if he was born in America, he'd be praised for his shooting. And I kind of went like, fuck off at this point. I went, of course. All right, whatever. And so he challenges
Where
Maria
are
to
we?
Yeah, no.
Like, that's what I'm doing right
now. Challenges Maria to a game of basically outrun me shooting you. I have one shot. If you get away, you win. And so Maria starts running. Bad idea. You're much larger than this boy. Just land on
easy.
him.
You're an easy target.
You're an easy target.
She could have easily overpowered him. If she got on top of him, he wouldn't be able to get away.
Yeah,
he's a small boy.
Get on top of him, throw his BB off the fucking apartment balcony, you win. You get gas mask boy as a slave. Doesn't do that.
Now you have the ultimate ultimately most powerful person in this whole game, guy with slingshot.
Yeah. Also,
there's a giant mafia bodyguard beast bruiser dude. There's a chick that's super smart. There's like this whiz kid intelligent guy. There's the lady who uses drugs. There's a mafia boss with all these like companies he controls, and then above all of that is number one guy with slingshot. How are any of them going to beat guy with slingshot? You can't. There's guy who invented the whole system. Can't beat guy with slingshot. He's too good.
You can't. As we'll find out next episode. Oh, by the way, something I forgot to bring up. The crazy person is in love with lion-haired guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's not?
Because
right?
I want to point out...
Stand-up guy.
Yeah, he saved her from assailants.
Yeah. Like a superhero.
Yeah, he was like Tuxedo Mask. He was even wearing a tuxedo. So next,
that's a reference within a reference.
Yeah. So our next episode opens up with Aya losing all of her slaves to Setagaya, and because they fall for a trap, and so you're kind of like, man, like what will Aya do now? Don't worry about it, because Setagaya ends up losing all of his slaves to Nobito.
Unbeatable slingshot
guy. Yeah. Also, Nobito. Nobito
you have
the
thing that can make anybody a slave? Can't be slingshot. Doesn't need a slingshot.
Because now we know at this point that the Judgment SEM only works on people who have lost.
So when did he figure that out?
No, he tells her. Because
she tells him, right?
Yeah. So
when did Slingshot Guy get her as a slave?
While she was walking somewhere, I think it was something like that.
Yeah, okay. Because before he attacked him, he knew that his thing didn't work on him.
And so we find out...
Because it would be so dumb if he didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just like, I'm going to go for it. I got a slingshot.
Yeah, so Nobito ends up being the guy from the first episode, by the way, because the guy from the first episode's our big bad of the series. Little did you know.
Dumb.
So he ends up... It's fucking stupid. So he ends up capturing everybody and basically bringing him to like a weird warehouse or abandoned school or whatever. And being edgy, like hunting them down in the playground area and like having his way with the women.
He's so cool.
And I think that's the end of that episode, because the next episode's all of it, right? Aya teams up with in the next episode. In case you're wondering about backstories again, we learned Lionhair's backstory, and she teams up with Lionhair, and they team up with Rio, and they were going to go get all the slaves. And
because you remember the entire time, that was the goal of the whole show.
That was Aya's goal.
How does Aya figure out that it won't work on her? Is it from fucking Zero's mom?
It's from Kyo.
Ghost Mom?
Yeah, Kyo texts Aya.
It's from Ghost Mom. All right.
So they're able to do that. Long story short, they explode the whole building. They end up winning. They get everybody as slaves. And then there's only two masters left, and that's Aya and Rio. So they flip a coin, and then they laugh, because they're best friends now, and the author didn't know how to finish, or the writers didn't know how to finish this 12-episode show, because they spent 11 episodes introducing the cast.
My favorite part was the horrible mafia boss that collects debts and makes women work as whores after they're indebted. Yeah. Goes, don't worry, little boy, your mom doesn't have a debt with me anymore, because I'm a good guy
because you saved my life.
You're like, oh, he's not going to get any repercussions for being a horrible, basically pimp, basically strong-arming people into giving them their money from their businesses. He's a horrible mafia boss. Nope. I'm not going to get in trouble at the end of this show because I'm a good guy now.
Well, and
I helped Aya, so I'm awesome now, right? You're like, no, you're still a piece of shit. And so's the guy who punched that lady in the face.
And so is the rapist guy from the first episode.
So is the rapist guy
just
from the
okay
first episode. At least he kind of got his upcomings.
Yeah.
Fuck. Those other two, they're just like, thanks for helping me. You can go on your way now.
So a guy doesn't even get in trouble. He escapes.
Yeah, he escapes.
And that was Doreiku the Animation.
God, what a roller coaster!
It's a mess. It's everywhere, and it's a roller coaster, Anthony, that takes you nowhere. It's a roller coaster that you get on and it shakes you, and then you're off, and you go, "I went nowhere."
And then it kicks you off, and you go, "Ow, why?" And it goes, "They're Doreiku, that's why."
And then they hand you a dog and go, "It tucks."
That's not the worst part. I think the worst part and the biggest mess up is when they let some random guy at the time, who turns out to be Slingshot Guy, not only defeat who feels like the actual big bad. Like, he invented the thing and he's got the prototype one. He feels like a legit villain. They let some random Slingshot Guy beat him and then also discover his, like, secret. They could have really ran with that and let Aya figure it out and let it be this, like, deductive moment for Aya, for her to figure out that he's only abducted slaves and maybe his thing only works on slaves, or for her to like be studying the SEM and figure out how it works and figure out how his works. But no, it just gets told to them directly, and it's not even to her, it's to this other guy who just takes him out of the picture and becomes a way less threatening villain. Like remember that? It's like we got Thanos, right? No. Now it's Ant-Man's villain.
It's Ironmonger's. It's Ironmonger.
Now it's Ironmonger.
You're like, again?
Bullseye. You're like, what? Like, yeah, Bullseye got Thanos, and now the big bad is Bullseye. You're like, there's 30 minutes left of the movie. Yeah, it's Bullseye now.
Weirdly,
I tricked you, didn't I? You're like, no, you did. But this is stupid.
I'm like, to weirdly tie in like the Marvel reference DJ was going through. Marvel Ultimate Alliance did something very similar, where like Mephisto is like the main villain throughout all of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and then right at the end, Doctor Doom steals his power, and the final level is Doctor Doom.
It's in the past.
Yeah, it's like in the past too, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, but at the end of it, you kind of just sit there and you go, I feel like... Okay, so DJ said at the end of the Uramanga Sensei review that it's hard to, like, review a show... It's hard to spoil a show where nothing happens. I feel like in this, everything equated to nothing happening. Like,
sure.
No one got any comeuppance, no one felt different. Even that lead-in on episode 2, where she goes, I will never, like, I wish I would never meet Yuga, turns out to be nothing, because Yuga...
Doesn't really pay off.
Yeah, Yuga is an asshole for, like, one episode, and then he's, like, in love with her.
Yep. It's like, why do you hate him? You made your dog eat a fork?
Yeah.
Like, why do you hate him? And then your dog didn't even eat the fork. Like, he tried to eat it. And then you saved him, and then everything was cool. He did nothing, actually. Like, she makes it off like it's going to be this horrible experience for her. I think that's because they're still in the edginess, and they're like, it is going to be horrible for her, but it turns out to be fine. Like,
Like, I thought maybe, like, at some point Yuga was going to, like, make everyone their slaves, and she would have to figure a way out or something. But it was just weirdly set up. Like, I feel like the whole first 3 episodes set up this lie that the show is going to be something completely different. And then episode 4 on, it becomes, here's all these characters who are also in the manga that play a part, and
it's like a battle royale.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, we ran out of time. Like,
it turns from this fucking, like, edge master anime to, like a team v team anime, whatever the name of genre of those are, but you know what I mean. Like, it's an obvious switch, and I think they should have stuck with the original idea. Yeah, I mean, like a good death game, edgy show that does. That's what it is, death game.
Yeah, gotcha. It's like death game, but in this version you don't die. But like a good death game, edgy show is Miraniki or Future Diary. And Future Diary has a bunch of characters in it too. Yes, it kind of falls off at the end, but the fact is, though, every character that they introduce is not it doesn't have a whole episode dedicated to those characters. Like, yeah, so it's much better.
They're introduced in correct ways, and even the total shark like jump craziness at the end, it's not out of place. I want to say, because they've already led you on this very like mystical craziness already, and then they just lean into that hard at the end. It's not nearly as jolting as other jolty endings.
Yes. It's very weird.
This one just just simmers off. Like, it's just like, and meh. That's the ending.
Yeah,
and it's over.
It's already a new bad guy.
And no resolution at all.
It definitely goes. Episode 11 got written. The guy goes, and this is going to be the new bad guy. And the guy goes, wow, that's crazy. How are you going to wrap it up next episode? He goes, what?
That's the worst part. Set guy is so scary, and you're like, how are they going to figure out how to beat him? And then you're like, oh wait, that guy's going to beat him, and then that lady's going to tell him how to beat him. That's how. That's it. That was easy. No conflict. No like amazing moment for your main character to figure everything out. Like,
yeah, her ability to read people never showed up again. It was like her ability to have a phone that Kyo could communicate to saved the day.
Yeah.
So normally after we go in depth on the anime, we like to bring up some ideas that would have helped the anime or might have fixed the anime. Anthony, You have any idea? Anything that could any little advice things that you think could have fixed this anime at all?
Well, actually splitting up, kind of like just piggybacking on DJ's kind of idea here to like really break up the villains, have these particular story arcs, actually segmented into the actual story. Like that would help out a lot. And all things considered, when it comes down to the the transition between Setagaya and our actual main big bad, if there was a little bit of separation between the two, it would have been more believable in that sense. I think that also separating some of these characters' backstories also helps out quite a bit. It would help these characters become more interesting, i.e., via explaining what's the kid's name?
Ryu.
Explaining Ryu's backstory when it became relevant, not just throwing in backstories all willy-nilly and then expecting me to remember them throughout the entire show. Another thing that really is a big gripe for me that I think that they could have corrected fairly easily in just the terms of the writing is our characters' intentions and drives for, completing their own goals and stuff like that. Like, especially in the main characters, just in Aya, herself. Like, I didn't understand her intention, and unfortunately it only becomes apparent in episode 6 when she becomes revealed to be our actual main character. It didn't feel like a show like Lost, where it has multiple characters, but we know that Jack, Sawyer, and Kate, there are 3 main characters. But it follows many different people, and we get a few different episodes that are strictly designated towards these characters. I think that dividing up the backstories and dividing up their intentions would have helped out the story quite a bit. And it actually would have taken a subpar concept into a story that actually would have been easy to follow, not as convoluted. And, as we kind of mentioned before, taking out the descriptors, there's effective ways to get across these plot devices, in the form of explaining the SCMs. Unfortunately, for this show, you would have to change so much in order to get it effective that it honestly would change how the story, would play out effectively. And I truly believe that. I don't think that there's just one quick fix for the show, that
there's
would make
so many
it
missed
better.
Opportunities. Letting Aya have a big payoff and figuring out how that guy's SEM worked would have been a huge payoff for her character and then a huge moment for the show, especially if like all felt lost after she has lost all her slaves and helpers pretty much, right? If you really, really want your guy to die to the slingshot dude, like you can have her figure it out and then him outsmart her and figure it out too, right? Or her figure it out and then he's helping her and he betrays her and goes and takes everyone for himself or something like that. But having him, like, it's not that he defeated Setagaya, it's that they just spoon-fed the way to defeat this like ultra powerful thing to the characters. They just had some girl that he liked tell everybody. Mm-hmm. I didn't like, and then Aya finding out about it because the guy's mother is in his own head and told them. Like, come on, that's so lame and cheap for that character. Like that is a giant missed opportunity, and there's much more along the way too. It's just capitalizing on those moments of those payoffs where you make the viewer really go, oh, that was cool. That was a cool moment for that character. Capitalizing on that versus just letting it not happen at all. That's what they needed to do.
Well, to hopefully not mirror anything you guys said, I'm just going to keep mine short and possibly to my biggest gripe with the entire show. Don't let the fucking dog talk.
He was great.
Don't let the dog talk. Don't introduce an episode. Don't introduce a character to me every episode in detail.
That's true. There were so many characters they could have cut out entirely.
Yep, I agree.
Like Anthony said, there's shows like Lost have a lot of characters that have, sure, Lost has the whole flashback deal, but that's only part. We still see those characters interact in the story, and then we get a flashback part to see them react, to explain why they reacted a certain way in the actual story. In this, it was like the author went, here's Zero. I forgot to write him in earlier. Here's what he's been doing. Now that he's caught up, he can be part of the story.
Like, not only is it that, it's that later on they start introducing characters so fast that they start failing at things that they were really good at before. Like, they always gave you a reason why something happens, why something works. And then as they introduce characters so quickly, they stop doing that. Like, why can that kid hear the SEMs?
I fucking even forgot to bring him up.
They completely skip it entirely. So it's like you could have done so many things with that. He could be deaf with like an implant, and now that's why he can hear them. Anything, right? Like any explanation works, like we were talking about before. And they did a really good job of that before, but then they completely overlook it because after they introduce him, they have to introduce so much else. He's like a placeholder. He's like a helper character to introduce this whole other concept. So they just completely forget about him. About explaining how he works in general.
They write him out of the show. Like, they go, oh, he's out to go get food. And then Maria and Zero get captured. And then they never tell their captor about him. Or he just isn't there anymore until the final part of the episode, of the series, where he just shows up. He goes, I heard this stuff. And it's like, the fuck?
Yeah, it's over with. We won.
I'm like, I forgot he even existed. And then there he was. So it's definitely super lazy at the end of it. You guys have anything else you guys want to say in the spoiler section?
No, I think that's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and get out of spoilers now. Hi, welcome to the spoiler-free section of the podcast. If you skip the spoilers, I highly recommend checking out that section. We go in depth on the anime in there, and normally I don't say this, but this will save you a watch. After the anime, after we go in depth on an anime, we like to give it a rating as well as a mini review. And I haven't done it in a while, so I want to do it. Our rating system is out of 3 categories. The first one being trash, an anime that is bad, that you shouldn't waste your time on, that really has no redeeming qualities, and the only list it should go on is a plan not to watch list. The second option we have is a recycling bin. And that is when an anime has some redeeming qualities. Maybe there is an audience for this show, or maybe we personally liked it, but we understand that it has its major faults. And then there's a find, an anime that we don't understand why the hate's there, or has a lot of good redeeming qualities, and is something that we personally enjoyed. So, Anthony, how about you start us off?
All right. This show is not hard to place for me because of all its very early apparent shortcomings in its characters, in its character development, which is something that I have stressed time and time again is what makes a show great. The show is lackluster in a plot and storyline, not necessarily in a concept, but could have been done, much better, that doesn't leave the audience wanting much at all. In fact, I think that if anybody were to watch the show, that they would agree that they just wasted their, 3 hours that it takes to watch this entire show? At the very end of it all, the show is so convoluted, leaves the viewers confused, and in most cases, really leaves us unsatisfied. This is not a show that I would ever recommend, ever. It's not one of the it's definitely not one of the worst ones, but because there's just so much wrong with the show, I would never recommend picking this show up. Not even for the comedy, not even because you thought that it was good, not even if you said, this is in between serious animes that are going to be released, I should watch this show. Take it from somebody who watches a lot of bad anime, folks. This is not the one to do it. The show is a trash, and it belongs in the trash.
All right, DJ. I always heard Jake explain it this way once, and I always like to do it this way. Whereas if it's just never, I would never recommend it. I put it in the trash. If it is a bad anime, but I feel like it has like a niche audience, or there's certain people who may enjoy it, people who really were planning on watching it, something like that, then I will recycle it, right? Even if I thought it was really bad, but I can see people who might enjoy it. In this anime, I just can't think of any audience, even niche audience, that it would have. So it's gotta be a trash one, unless like for the off chance that you're super 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 into like slave dom BDSM and you have been hoping that there's an anime that explores that. Maybe you could watch the first few episodes, but then you'd probably be bored even after that. Like there's not even like tiny audience that I feel like this is good for. Someone that would enjoy it. I don't. It's not good. Has no audience. Definitely trash.
My review's not going to be too different. It's a story that had no idea where it was going from the very beginning. Like, it's all over the place. It's almost as if there was no actual source material, but instead a bunch of random character cards that were handed to the director, and they said, make a story, make a show. And then that person just kind of read off the character cards and then went like, oh, this character met this character this way. And it just wasn't fun even to watch. No character was interesting, and any characters that could have been interesting were very poorly handled. There is so much more I wish I would have done with my time than waste it watching this show. So I agree with both you guys. Is going in the trash. And
perfect.
So if you're keeping score of our newest of this year's anime, so far both have been trash.
Ooh.
We're nailing this season, guys.
Nice.
Oh, what was before this? Before this was fucking Goku dolls, right?
Yeah, Goku dolls.
Ugh. That one wasn't.
That one was not good either.
Anime.
That one was not good either.
Some fucking motion.
If the panty show was an anime, then Goku dolls was an anime.
I didn't say the panty show was an anime.
Neither did I.
I said it was. I said it was.
No, it's not.
I said it was more of an art display.
Wasn't that a long discussion of whether or not what makes a show?
Yeah, what makes it? We got really in depth in that one.
Yeah, we did.
All right. So after this, I'd like to give our listeners a heads up on what we're going to watch next. That way, they can watch it ahead of time. So that way, they can watch the full podcast. And our next anime we're watching is called Wiz. W''Z.
Sweet. What's it about, Jake?
I am afraid.
Thank you, DJ. I always love it when you ask me what the anime is about, because then I get to just dash your hopes early. So, shortly after the events of Handshakers...
Oh, fuck. Oh, no.
You can't be serious.
Oh, no.
I am serious. Handshakers got a sequel.
I want to cry.
I'm so fucking mad right now. Oh, my gosh.
Is it the same art style?
It is.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. You should have said we were watching Diabolical Lovers Season 2.
I would have been happy with that.
Oh.
I could have listened to Anthony be angry.
I feel like I'm looking at DJ right now. It does look like he's crying.
I'm laugh crying.
You laugh crying.
Because you're hilarious. But fuck.
I'm so disgusted.
That one was so bad.
At least Diabolic Lovers, everybody got a laugh. This one was just bad.
No, but yeah, we're watching.
There's no fucking way the sequel could be better. Sequels are always worse. Unless they got like a whole new team on this fucking thing, dude.
This is fucking ridiculous.
On my anime list, Wiz right now is at a 5.7.
The Handshakers get a 5.3?
5.6.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Who would vote that average at all?
I don't know. I gave it a 4.
What's worse than that? You gave it a 4?
I gave it a 4.
That's astoundingly high. That's way too high. I would give Handshakers a fucking 0. It was the worst.
You can't. It's on a scale of 1 to 10.
Then a 1.
1 is called appalling.
It was appalling.
Yeah,
it was so bad. So,
yep. Tune in next week. We'll be watching Wiz, and since Handshakers is so near and dear to our hearts, I figured why not share the love, and I've asked a couple of people to join us on that one, and Hopefully they will. We'll figure out when we actually record that podcast.
Ooh, big tease.
All right. Anthony, want to tell them where they can find us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We're always so happy that you tuned into our Anime Dumpster Dive podcast where three normal boys review really trashy anime. I hope that you guys have been enjoying this series so far. Leave a comment down below on a trashy anime that you think that we should listen to and or watch, and then we'll go ahead and leave our review and see if it lives up to the hype. You can check us out in our Twitter handles down below. Leave us a comment, too, about the new banner. Can you shout out the name of the artist that did it?
Yeah, I totally forgot to do that early on, and I forgot to do it before I had you do the outro. Thank you for segueing that in. It is the artist who drew our new banner as well as our new profile picture is Crafty on Instagram. Check out some of her stuff. She draws a lot of really cool things.
Cool. Hopefully we can get a link down in the description below. As always, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an Anime Dumpster Dive podcast. Hey, and did you know that we're currently releasing Rising of the Shield Hero review videos? So check out that.
Hero Shielder.
What more do you need? Thanks again for listening, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Sky Strike Shield.
Later. I don't know why I did later.
Fuck.